Hello, I'm Skylar the ADHDM, and as a somewhat belated celebration for reaching 1,000 subscribers, I'm doing a giveaway. Stick around until the end of the video and find out how to win a free digital copy of some of the adventures mentioned in this video. On the one hand, buying a pre-published adventure means less work. On the other hand, most adventures are not written for folks with ADHD. Some are vast, labyrinthine maps of castles with every empty barrel and dusty room detailed. On the other end of the spectrum are more linear sequences of events with scripted dice rolls. What they all tend to have in common, especially first-party adventures, are long, complex passages of text with very little actionable information. While having access to vast stores of information about a game's setting, characters, and history is awesome, when you have a deficit of working memory, sifting through all of that to get to what you actually need feels impossible. I'm sure you've experienced it before. You're reading a novel, a recipe, an instruction manual, anything, and you maybe even read it out loud. You get to the end and realize, even though you just read it, nothing stuck. None of that information is there. Even though I love reading fiction, I still need audiobooks to actually process a story unless I'm in a very special headspace. There aren't really any audiobook companions to Curse of Strahd, so navigating those dense bodies of text in game prep is a constant uphill battle for me. It's not impossible by any stretch. I've even run the painfully opaque Princes of the Apocalypse as written. And really, in terms of what adventures give me the most gameplay for my time spent prepping, I can't say that I can recommend any first-party books that are out right now. The core rulebooks get a pass because they're more like reference books than instructions. But I don't think I'm alone in saying that Wizards of the Coast could use some more accessibility consulting when it comes to their published adventures. Luckily, there is more third-party content on the market than any one DM could run in 1,000 lifetimes. If my math is wrong, correct me in the comments. There are also plenty of RPGs easier to run for neurodivergent folks, but that is another video. If you've watched my channel before, you know my number one recommendation already. The Arcane Library makes adventures that are so easy to prep you feel like you've done something wrong. They are literally pick up and play with no actual prep time required, but all the prep time you do put in is really rewarding and intuitive. This ease of use doesn't sacrifice atmosphere, narrative tension, complex NPCs, or crunchy combat. Instead, it front-loads all the information that you need. If there's an encounter in a room, the monster stat block is typically on the same page. There are no wasted words about how much sawdust is in an empty stable, or how high the ceilings are in the castle's vestibule. Looking at you, Curse of Strahd. Kelsey knows from experience what you actually need to set the scene, and the tone is so baked into the adventure that the empty spaces fill themselves. In my last video, I talked about point of performance. The idea that everything you need to perform a task should be in arm's reach of that task. Compare the typical published adventure, which would have you thumb through 2 appendices and 2 additional source books in order to run monsters and loot for a single encounter, and then an Arcane Library adventure, which has everything you need in a 2-page spread. The point of performance is obviously better in the second one. Also, the unrelentingly cool maps, many of which are by Lantern's Light maps, contain enough visual information to fill any gaps left by Kelsey's concise descriptions. I will never stop recommending the Arcane Library. Many of the tools I use to make running the game easier that are described in that video, I don't really need when I'm running Arcane Library. Also, remember when I said that most adventures don't come with audiobook companions? Well, the Arcane Library is the exception. For each adventure, there's a YouTube walkthrough. It's on the purchase page that you buy the adventure on. Kelsey goes through each segment of the adventure and various ways that it could be run, and they're free. If you're dead set on running a first-party adventure, Lost Mines of Phandelver and Dragons of Icespire Peak from the starter block and Essentials kit respectively are pretty clear about what challenges and rewards your players can face, and they have some really memorable encounters. Also first party, the Sunless Citadel was designed, I think in 3.5, as a beginner campaign, and because of that, it has a lot of really cool sort of best of sequences of what D&D has to offer. There are 2 different factions, there's really cool treasure, it's an actual dungeon delve, and an actual dragon. It was adapted to 5th edition in Tales from the Yawning Portal. A really recent, well, not really recent, but somewhat recent favorite of mine is called The Workshop Watches by Leon Berilaro. It appears in issue 1 of MCDM's Arcadia. And the information is organized pretty intuitively, and it manages to infuse the adventure with a lot of character without having to read through really dense, chunky NPC motivation descriptions. It's one of those adventures where it feels like every opportunity to infuse it with tone was taken. It's a wonderful one-shot for 5th level characters, and I've used it to reverse engineer some adventure design and reorganize or rewrite other campaigns. It was so easy and so much fun that now when I see Leon's name on an adventure as an editor or a designer, I trust that they have done an awesome job, and I get really excited. As I mentioned earlier, as a belated celebration for hitting 1K subs, I'm giving away some digital copies of my favorite Arcane Library adventure, The Gate of the Lens Wizards. It's an adventure for a 15th level party, which is, there's so little content for that tier of gameplay, and I've run it in about 2 sessions before. I'll also be giving away a digital copy of MCDM's Arcadia No. 1 to give you a chance to see the workshop watches for yourself. If you wish to be entered in the giveaway, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments what adventure that you had the easiest or hardest time running. What you think adventure writers and publishers could be doing to accommodate people who can't sort through these dense blocks of text. I'll pick a winner on March 1st. Thank you for watching. So many of the amazing people in this community who I now get to run and play games with found it through word of mouth. So if you know someone neurodivergent who's wanting to run or play D&D or other tabletop RPGs, or you know someone who wants to accommodate neurodivergent players in their home game, please consider showing them this channel. Thank you, as always, to my patrons. If you want to play in my West Marches game, just click the link in the description and join the Discord, make a character. If you want to watch me die in video games and prep for that West Marches campaign, I'm on every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Central at Twitch TV/the_ADHDM. Until next time. A couple seconds ago, I moved my chair over, and now it looks like he's been asleep in it for 20 years.